Okay, let's jump right in. There's this feeling,
Mm.
right, that we all kind of have, I think, this desire to just, handle things a bit better day to day.
Absolutely. It's sort of universal, isn't it? That feeling of wanting more confidence, whether you're tackling something big.
Right, like planning a whole trip, or God forbid, your computer decides to just die on you.
Exactly. Or even the small stuff, like just trying to order a coffee without sounding completely lost.
Totally, and life just throws so much variety at us constantly.
It really does. And what's great is that you, the listeners, have given us this amazing collection of everyday moments, these little snippets of English in action.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We've got dialogues about planning that trip to France, the dream versus the less glamorous reality.
And those tech support nightmares we can all relate to. Ordering food, navigating supermarkets, just trying to find your way around.
And even stuff about like social dynamics, understanding people, and some actual direct advice on learning English, which is pretty cool.
It's a really rich mix. So the plan for this deep dive, or mission, if you will, is to really dig into these examples
Yeah, pull out the key stuff, the practical bits you can actually use.
and also maybe notice some of those, cultural nuances, the things that aren't explicitly said but are kind of important for understanding what's really going on.
Exactly. It's less about grammar rules today and more
Yeah.
about just observing how English is used naturally in the wild, so to speak.
Right, how communication actually works in these real-world contexts. And it's amazing how these seemingly simple scenarios can tell us so much.
Okay, so where should we start? That France trip, maybe. That initial excitement.
Oh, yeah, that's a great place to start. That feeling of, Paris, I'm going to sit in cafes and look sophisticated.
Exactly. You picture the beret, the espresso,
Right.
maybe gazing thoughtfully at the Eiffel Tower, the whole romantic ideal.
Mm-hmm. Even if, as one source hinted, maybe the reality is just finding a decent pain au chocolat, which is still pretty great, let's be honest.
Oh, totally. A good croissant is not to be underestimated.
Yeah.
But yeah, that initial, dreamy vision.
It crashes into the practical stuff pretty fast, doesn't it? Suddenly it's all about flights and where to stay and, the budget.
The budget. Always
Mm.
the budget. It's that classic clash, isn't it? The dream versus the spreadsheet.
It really is. It shows how the idealized picture often needs a serious reality check when it comes to logistics.
And then you layer in the whole language thing, like relying on Google Translate.
Right. Which is, I mean, an incredible tool, no doubt about it. Lifesaver sometimes.
Definitely. But it has its limits.
Yeah.
It highlights that gap between just translating words and actually communicating effectively in a different culture.
Exactly. It can help you order your coffee, maybe ask for directions.
If you can figure out how to pronounce what it tells you.
Huh, yeah, that too. But it might miss the subtleties, right? The politeness level, the social cues, the little jokes.
Yeah, you get the literal meaning, but maybe you sound kind of blunt. Or you miss the joke entirely.
Precisely. And then there's navigating the actual city, the metro, that moment of panic.
Oh, God, yes. Standing there, looking at the map, trying to figure out which direction is sortie. Am I going uptown? Downtown? Is this the right line?
Anyone who's traveled has felt that, I think. That slight wave of, oh no, what if I end up in the wrong arrondissement?
Totally. It's not just about the words. It's understanding the systems, the way things work, the infrastructure.
And the coping mechanisms are interesting too. You see that initial reliance on the app, the phone.
Praying you have signal.
Right. And then maybe a bit of optimistic panic, like in the source, more adventure, maybe I'll discover a hidden gem.
Which is a nice way of saying I am slightly lost, but let's pretend it's intentional.
Exactly. It shows a certain resilience though, doesn't it? Adapting when things don't go perfectly to plan, which is pretty essential when you're traveling.
Definitely a useful skill. And we also saw that classic planning dynamic, didn't we? Where one person's like, ooh, let's research cafes. And the other is stuck with the boring details.
Mm-hmm. The division of labor, often, not quite equal.
Yeah, let's be real. Usually means one person ends up booking the flights and figuring out the train tickets while the other pins pictures of museums.
It's a very recognizable dynamic for sure. Lots of couples or friends probably know that one well.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit,
Yeah.
but still kind of related to navigating things. Ordering coffee? Seems simple, right?
Yeah.
I'd like a coffee, please.
You'd think, but then, boom, the barrage of questions.
Oh, yeah. The source mentioned that rapid-fire list.
Yeah.
Lattes, cappuccinos, mochas, cold brews, espressos. Suddenly, just coffee isn't really an option.
It immediately throws you into this world of intense customization, which seems to be a big thing in many English-speaking coffee cultures.
It really is. It's not just a drink. It's a whole specification process. What size?
Fought or iced.
What kind of milk? Oat, soy, almond, regular, skim.
Any syrups, sweeteners, whipped cream.
It's almost overwhelming. You need a flow chart just to get your morning caffeine fix.
It definitely contrasts with places where a coffee might just mean, well, a standard cup of coffee. It highlights that cultural difference in choice and personalization.
And I liked a little bit of humor at the end of that source dialogue. You could have asked me that first, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah, that little playful jab. It suggests that sometimes these service interactions aren't purely about efficiency. There can be a bit of banter, a social element mixed in.
Yeah, a reminder that it's not always just transactional. Okay, let's transition to something universally relatable. Technology deciding to ruin your day.
Ah, yes. The computer meltdown. That source description was painfully familiar.
Right. Froze, restarted itself, now it won't let me open my files.
Ah.
That cold dread when your digital life just grinds to a halt.
Ugh. It's that feeling of complete helplessness, isn't it? Especially when you know your important stuff is trapped in there somewhere.
And a probable cause. Clicking on a sketchy link.
The siren song of free movies, in this case. A classic cautionary tale.
We've all been tempted, maybe? You see a link, it promises something amazing for free. But yeah, trouble usually follows.
It really underscores that basic internet safety rule. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. The potential downside viruses, losing your data, maybe even identity theft, it just massively outweighs getting a free movie.
Definitely. It's that constant balancing act online, isn't it? Convenience versus security, temptation versus risk.
And the antivirus software. Well, it helps, but as the source implied, it's not always a magic shield. Sometimes things still get through.
Yeah, that comparison to a hospital waiting room for the infected computer.
Yeah.
That was vivid. Just captures the sheer number of threats floating around out there.
It really does. It's a good reminder about digital hygiene, you know, being careful where you click, what you download.
And the irony, too.
Yeah.
Trying to save a few bucks on a movie and potentially ending up with a huge repair bill or hours of stress trying to fix things.
Exactly. The cost-benefit analysis rarely works out in favor of the sketchy link.
Okay, then we have the, oh boy, the password situation.
Oh, that one. Using password as your password.
I mean, wow. It's almost performance art in its lack of security. It's like leaving your front door wide open with a sign saying, "Rob me."
It really is. And then the security question being, what's your password?
It's the layers of irony. It's almost beautiful in its absurdity, but also terrifying from a security perspective.
It perfectly highlights that gap, doesn't it? Between knowing you should use strong, unique passwords and actually doing it.
Yeah, why do we do that? Is it just laziness? Wanting something easy to remember?
Probably a bit of that. Cognitive bias, maybe. We underestimate the risk or we prioritize ease of recall over actual security. It's human nature, I suppose, but risky.
And the suggestion to use password 123 instead. Like, okay, technically better, but still not great.
Not great at all. Still incredibly easy to guess or brute force. It's a good reminder for everyone listening, maybe. Go check your passwords. Use a password manager.
Please. For the love of all that is digital. Okay, moving from digital weirdness to, well, real-world weirdness. The fake taxi in New York.
That was quite a story. Surreal, almost.
Right. A bright yellow car, taxi sign on top. Looks legit, but nope. Just some guy's personal car that he paints yellow so he can find it in parking lots.
The sheer audacity is kind of impressive in a bizarre way.
But also incredibly risky for anyone who might mistake it for a real taxi, right? Especially late at night.
Absolutely. It really drives home that point about being aware of your surroundings, especially in big cities or unfamiliar places. You can't just assume things are what they seem. Getting into a stranger's car.
Even if it looks like a taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge potential danger there.
And the driver's justification in the source, saying he's a terrible kidnapper, and it's hard to find real taxis then. It's darkly humorous, but doesn't really make it okay.
Not at all. It just highlights the potential vulnerability and the need to, like, verify your ride. Use official apps, look for medallions, that kind of thing.
Definitely. A weird anecdote, but with a serious underlying message about safety.
Okay, let's move to slightly less bizarre city navigation. Getting directions to Central Park.
Yes. This was interesting because it showed two totally different communication styles for the same goal.
Exactly. First, you have the super direct, efficient route. What was it? Head straight down Fifth Avenue, turn left on 86th.
Yep. Clear, concise, no frills, gets you there, point A to point B.
Pure efficiency. For someone who just wants to get to the park, that's perfect.
But then you get the alternative, the scenic route suggestion.
Right. Go down Broadway instead. It's nicer. And, oh, there's this great little local coffee shop you should check out. Much better than that Starbucks over there.
It's a completely different approach. It's not just about the destination, it's about the journey. It values experience, local knowledge, personal recommendations.
It's a great example of how giving directions can be more than just transmitting data points. It can be about sharing a perspective, offering options, adding a personal touch.
And the little dig at Starbucks versus the local place, that's also a common theme, isn't it? The global chain versus the independent spot.
Totally. Starbucks offers that reliable, familiar experience, which can be comforting when you're somewhere new. But the local place might offer something more unique, more authentic maybe. It's about different priorities.
Precisely. So 2 valid ways to give directions, appealing to different types of people or different moods maybe.
Now let's talk about an errand that can feel like navigating a confusing city all on its own. The supermarket.
Well, a grocery store ordeal, that feeling of too many choices, who hasn't felt that?
Seriously, standing in the cereal aisle alone can induce paralysis. Or, like the source mentioned, the jam aisle. Dozens of options.
It's decision fatigue in action, isn't it? Your brain just gets overloaded.
And then the impulse buys. The
Sure.
source mentioning getting distracted by scented candles. I feel seen.
Yes. You go in for milk, bread, eggs, and you come out with like artisanal cheese. You don't need that fancy new flavor of crisps. And yeah, probably a candle.
Lavender, maybe. Or ocean breeze, something that promises serenity but will likely just gather dust.
It speaks volumes about marketing, doesn't it? And just the sensory overload of those huge stores, everything is designed to grab your attention.
And then getting lost, feeling trapped, and having to follow elderly shoppers because they seem to know the secret escape routes.
Yeah.
Genius.
It's funny because it's true. Supermarket layouts can be bafflingly counterintuitive. You just wander, hoping to stumble upon the exit eventually.
It's a reminder that even the most mundane, everyday tasks can have these little moments of absurdity and challenge.
Definitely. Now, shifting from the slow, overwhelming pace of the supermarket to the complete opposite, the Five Guys order.
Oh yeah, warp speed. That scene captured it perfectly.
The employee just rattling off the specials like their life depends on it.
Faster than an auctioneer was the quote, right? That's a great description.
It really is. And the customer having to say, whoa, hang on, could you repeat that? That's such a common situation, especially if English isn't your first language, or even if it is and you're just in a noisy place.
Absolutely. It highlights how important it is to feel okay asking people to slow down or repeat themselves. It's not rude. It's necessary for clear communication.
Crucial skill. Using phrases like, sorry, I didn't quite catch that, or could you say that again, please? Essential tools.
And the level of detail in the actual order. What was it? Double bacon deluxe?
Curly fries.
Yeah.
Classic cheeseburger, no pickles, and a chocolate milkshake.
Right. That specificity. People know exactly what they want, especially with food, which means the person taking the order has to listen really carefully.
It does. It underlines the need for active listening on both sides. And again, that willingness to clarify to make sure everything is right. You don't want pickles if you hate pickles.
God, no. Picklegate is a serious offense. So, yeah, active listening, asking for repetition, key skills in fast-paced environments.
Okay, so we've covered navigating places, tech, food. Let's move into the realm of people and relationships, social dynamics, starting with that doppelganger conversation.
Ooh, yeah, that was intriguing. It starts off a bit spooky, doesn't it? The idea of seeing someone who looks exactly like you.
That sort of uncanny feeling and the superstitions around it. But then, plot twist.
The reveal. Actually, I have a twin brother.
And the immediate reaction, no way, identical twins. That instant curiosity, people are fascinated by twins.
Totally. It taps into that fundamental question about identity, uniqueness.
Yeah.
What does it mean if someone shares your exact face?
And then we get the anecdotes. The twin pretending to be him on a date. Classic twin shenanigans.
Right. You hear stories like that all the time, using their identical looks for mischief or confusion. It seems like part of the twin package deal.
It definitely raises interesting points about identity, blurring lines, maybe even a bit of harmless deception. Or maybe not so harmless, depending on the situation.
True. And the comment about it being basically like living with your own clone, that really captures the unique, maybe sometimes intense dynamic.
That closeness, but also maybe that rivalry or the constant comparison, and the potential for pranks, obviously.
And the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. Blaming the other twin.
It wasn't me, it was him. The perfect alibi built right in. As the source said, smart move.
You can't argue with the efficiency. Okay, from twins to geographical confusion.
Ah, yes. The Czech Republic moment.
Isn't it in Africa? Oh, dear. Followed by somewhere near Egypt, right?
You have to admire the confidence, though. Stated so matter-of-factly.
I know, but Olivia's response was perfect. Just a simple, firm, just no. Sometimes that's all you need.
It really highlights how we all have these blind spots, don't we? Gaps in our general knowledge, sometimes in really basic areas. It's easy to assume everyone knows the same things you do.
So true. You could almost hear the mental clunk as the correction landed.
But then the relief when they correctly placed France and Europe, phew, crisis averted.
Yeah, the bar was set pretty low there for a moment. It's a funny exchange, makes you cringe slightly, but also remind us not to be afraid to admit when we don't know something.
Absolutely. Better to ask or look it up than to confidently declare the Czech Republic is neighbors with Egypt.
Good life advice right there.
Yeah.
Okay, moving into more personal territory. How people spend their downtime, their free time.
We got a nice little snapshot there, didn't we? A real mix of preferences.
Yeah, very relatable stuff. Social media scrolling, just surfing the web that's huge for so many people.
The digital default, almost. But then also reading, which is great to see.
And the split. Fantasy and horror versus romance. Interesting little insight into taste there.
And video games making an appearance, too, but with that practical constraint.
Right, needing an early night because of the subway journey the next day.
It shows how even our leisure time isn't always totally free, is it? It's often shaped by practicalities like transport or work schedules, or, in this case, visiting a partner in another town.
That was a nice detail, adding that personal context. It just reflects the reality of juggling different parts of life, work, relationships, personal interests, and the logistics that tie them all together.
A very realistic glimpse into how people balance their time and activities.
Okay, now let's talk about something really important. School, grades, and parental support. That conversation was quite touching.
It really was. You have the student feeling down about getting D's and C's.
Yeah, that feeling of, I should have done better, the pressure, maybe comparing themselves to others, it's so common.
But the parent's response, just fantastic. Our family doesn't define someone by grades alone. You're a wonderful student and a great son.
So good. Shifting the focus from just the outcome, the letter grade, to the person, the effort, the character.
That's textbook unconditional positive regard, isn't it? And it's so incredibly important for building self-esteem and resilience. It tells the kid their worth isn't tied solely to their academic performance.
Absolutely. It fosters a much healthier relationship with learning, I think. Less fear of failure, more focus on growth.
And you see the impact immediately. The student responds with, okay, I'll put in more effort and not give up.
Right. The encouragement actually motivates them, rather than making them feel defensive or inadequate. It promotes that growth mindset. Okay, I didn't hit my goal this time, but I can learn from it and improve.
Such a positive example of supportive parenting.
Yeah.
Really valuable.
Definitely. Okay, shifting from family support to the workplace. Requesting time off when you're sick.
Another very common scenario, and the way it was handled in the source was quite formal and polite.
Yeah, may I come in, sir? I'm feeling under the weather, sir. Can I take off early today? Lots of sirs. And having the leave form ready to go.
It shows a certain level of professionalism and respect for the process, even when feeling unwell. Proactive.
And the manager's response was good too, right? Just, okay, granted, I know you work hard.
Exactly. No guilt trip, just acceptance and acknowledgement. And then the employee assures them the important report is almost done and will be the first priority on return.
That's key, isn't it? Showing responsibility, thinking about the team and the workflow, even when you need to take leave.
It demonstrates consideration. And the manager's final words, go home and take care of yourself, add that human touch.
Yeah, that little bit of empathy makes a big difference. It just shows a supportive work culture where people are treated like, well, people.
It really highlights how politeness, clear communication, and mutual respect can make these necessary interactions smooth and positive.
Agreed. Now let's talk about taking a leap, facing fears.
Yeah.
The dancing contest example.
Ah, yes. The classic battle against self-doubt.
Totally. The initial reaction is pure hesitation. No way. I'm not good enough. There are better dancers. I'll be too nervous. All the usual suspects.
All those internal barriers we put up, right? The fear of judgment, the fear of not measuring up, the fear of failure. So relatable.
But then the friend steps in, the cheerleader.
Yes, with that persistent, positive encouragement. Come on, seize the moment. You used to love dancing.
And the killer line, if you don't try, you'll never know. Simple, but powerful.
It really is. It cuts through the what-ifs and focuses on the potential regret of not trying.
And that unwavering belief, heck yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need someone else to believe in you before you can believe in yourself.
It's incredibly motivating, isn't it? That external validation, that vote of confidence. It can be the push someone needs to overcome their own internal critic.
Definitely. It shows the power of positive peer pressure, almost. Encouraging someone to step outside their comfort zone.
And the enthusiastic, "that's my man," at the end, it just seals that feeling of strong friendship and genuine support. Really nice exchange.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, now for some much more low-key friend interactions. It's like just grabbing a drink after a jog.
Simple, everyday stuff. Two friends, post-exercise, getting some orange juice.
And the little detail of almost stilling it
Hmm.
just adds that touch of normal, clumsy reality.
Mm-hmm. It's not dramatic, but it's relatable. And the comment about needing the vitamin C after a workout, just a small shared moment.
Exactly. These little interactions, they're like the glue that holds friendships together, aren't they? Shared activities, casual chats.
They really are.
Yeah.
And then another common friend discussion, where should we eat?
Ah, the eternal question. This one involved weighing options based on the
Right.
weather, right?
Yeah. Hot pot sounded good, but it was too hot outside. So the craving shifted to something cool, like ice cream or shaved ice.
A very logical shift based on environmental factors. We've all been there. Too hot for soup, too cool for salad.
Exactly. And the compromise, they landed on cold noodles. Perfect for the weather.
A diplomatic solution.
Yeah.
It's a lighthearted example of that negotiation that happens constantly between friends, finding something that works for everyone.
That give and take, balancing different preferences to find common ground, essential for harmonious friendships,
Yeah.
and deciding on dinner.
So true.
Okay, now let's wade into slightly more complicated territory. Rumors. Crushes.
Oh boy, buckle up. This started pretty directly, didn't it?
Yeah, straight in. I heard from someone that you have a crush on Jarvis. No beating around the bush there.
Puts the person right on the spot. Instant potential awkwardness. And the initial denial, but then the explanation for why the rumor started.
Right, you guys are always hanging out. The way you talk sounds like a couple. It shows how easily observers can misinterpret platonic closeness.
People love to read into things, don't they? Especially when it comes to potential romance. We project narratives onto interactions.
We really do. And then, after the denial, the hesitant admission.
Well, okay, I do sort of like him, but I haven't told him. The classic reveal.
Followed immediately by the plea for secrecy. Please don't tell anyone.
That vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Admitting feelings is risky, and trusting your friend not to spread the word is crucial.
Absolutely. And the friend's response, "I got you, girl," is exactly what you want to hear in that moment. It solidifies the trust, establishes them as a confidant.
Yeah. Shows the importance of having friends you can trust with that kind of sensitive, potentially embarrassing information.
Definitely. A very common dynamic in friendships, navigating crushes and secrets.
Okay, now from current friendships to catching up with old ones. Discussing life changes.
This felt very representative of those conversations you have when you reconnect with someone after a while, maybe someone who's moved away.
Talking about moving to a new city for a job, adjusting to a faster pace of life.
Dealing with the challenges of maybe a demanding career while also trying to maintain family connections or build a new social life. Very relatable stages of adult life.
And that feeling of being overwhelmed initially by a big, fast-paced city. Lots of people experience that during major transitions.
Absolutely. It takes time to adjust. And the offer to introduce the friend to their spouse and kids later, that's a natural way to bridge the gap, isn't it? To share your current life with someone from your past.
Yeah, it shows that desire to maintain the connection, to integrate the different parts of your life, and share your world with people who've known you a long time.
It highlights the effort involved in keeping those long-distance friendships going and the value people place on those historical connections.
Agreed. Okay, back to the workplace, but this time focusing on feedback, giving and receiving it.
Always a delicate dance, isn't it? This conversation started well with a compliment.
Right. Great presentation, James. Always good to start with the positive.
But then the constructive criticism comes in. Maybe add some visuals next time.
A specific, actionable suggestion. That's generally good feedback. It balances the praise with a concrete area for improvement.
And James's response was realistic too, right? Acknowledging the suggestion, but explaining the time crunch.
Yeah. Good idea, but I ran out of time.
Mm.
That happens. Sometimes ideal isn't possible under deadlines.
Exactly. And the manager's understanding, no worries, you did fantastic anyway, is crucial. It ends the feedback loop on an encouraging note, so James doesn't just focus on the criticism.
Right. It validates the effort while still planting the seed for future improvement. Good management, really.
It shows how effective feedback involves being specific, focusing on behavior or outcomes, not personality, and maintaining a supportive tone. And then inviting him for a meal afterwards helps reinforce the relationship beyond just the task.
Yeah, builds rapport.
Mm.
Okay, now let's look at offering support during bigger life moments or challenges. Starting with that job, offer anxiety.
Oh, that mix of emotions. I got the job! Amazing! Followed immediately by, oh God, can I actually do this?
So relatable. That imposter syndrome kicking in right when something good happens.
Yeah.
The excitement mixed with pure terror.
Mm-hmm. And the friend's advice is really grounding. Listen to your gut. Think about your long-term goal.
Yeah, encouraging them to look beyond the immediate fear and connect the opportunity to their bigger aspirations and values. Is this really what you want? Does it align?
It prompts that deeper self-reflection. But then comes the pep talk.
Right. Fear's got to take a back seat. You got this. Dive in.
Yeah.
No regrets. Just pure, unadulterated encouragement.
Sometimes you just need that external voice telling you to push past the fear and take the leap.
And the promise of support. No matter what, I've got your back. That's huge when you're stepping into something new and scary,
Mm-hmm.
knowing someone's in your corner.
Incredibly reassuring. It gives you that safety net, emotionally at least.
And the friend's reaction when they decide to go for it, that's my girl. I knew you'd crush it. Just pure, positive affirmation. So important.
It really shows how powerful friendship can be in boosting confidence and helping people navigate big decisions.
Okay, so from the high of a job offer to the low of failing a driving test.
Oof, yeah, that's a common disappointment, the feeling of having bombed it.
A totally understandable reaction. But again, the friend's response is key.
Immediate encouragement. No worries, there's always next time. Keep practicing.
Exactly. Normalizing the failure, reframing it as a temporary setback, not a final judgment. It's not the end of the world.
That perspective is so important. It prevents the person from spiraling into I'll never pass
Right.
territory.
And it works. The person rallies. Okay, yeah, I'll get better. More practice. I'm going to nail it next time. Watch me.
That resilience kicks in. Learning from the mistake, determined to succeed next time. That's the ideal outcome.
And the friend's playful support. Got my pom-poms out for you. Just adds that lighthearted touch to keep things positive.
It reinforces that idea that setbacks happen, but with persistence and support, you can overcome them. A great little exchange about resilience.
Definitely. Now let's shift to contemplating something completely new, like starting a business. That initial hesitation.
Yeah, the immediate, no way, not for me, I'm not the business owner type. That automatic self-disqualification.
It reflects a common fear, doesn't it? Fear of the unknown, fear of risk, maybe feeling like you don't fit the entrepreneur mold, sticking to the comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. And the friend tries to gently push back, suggesting ideas, highlighting existing skills, trying to plant a seed.
But the concerns raised are valid too. The financial risk, needing capital, not having the business know-how, these are real obstacles.
Absolutely. It's not an easy path. The conversation acknowledges those worries, but also introduces the idea of big payoffs, balancing the risk with the potential reward.
But the person remains reluctant, right? Better off sticking to what I know.
Yeah.
Comfort and security win out, at least for now.
Which is perfectly okay, but the friend leaves them with that little nudge. Stepping out of your comfort zone can lead to some pretty awesome stuff.
It's not pushy, but it leaves the door open. It respects their current feelings, but gently suggests that maybe, just maybe, taking a calculated risk could be worthwhile down the line.
A nice balance between acknowledging fears and encouraging potential growth.
Okay, let's lighten things up again, talking about favorite things. Movie stars.
A classic, easy way to connect. And the choices were pretty mainstream, relatable ones. Tom Hanks.
Who doesn't love Tom Hanks?
Oh.
Referencing Forrest Gump, Castaway,
Yeah.
iconic roles that resonate with so many people, it creates instant common ground.
Exactly. And the agreement, he's got mad skills, just builds that connection, shared appreciation.
And then the other person brings up Tom Cruise, another movie legend.
Again, widely known, lots of famous roles. It's just a simple, low-stakes way to find shared interests and build rapport through popular culture. Easy conversation starter.
Totally. Now on to something a bit more sensitive. Noticing a friend is feeling down and offering support.
This is such an important social skill, isn't it? Recognizing when someone's not themselves.
Picking up on the cues, you seem a bit off,
Yeah.
and then gently asking, something on your mind? Creating that safe space to talk.
And the person feels comfortable enough to admit it. Yeah, feeling kind of low, everything feels overwhelming. Just acknowledging it is a big step.
It is. And the friend's response starts with maybe a slightly generic, try to perk up, but then gets more practical.
Right. Suggestions like take a break, do something fun, go for a walk, listen to music. Concrete actions that might actually help shift the mood.
Offering distractions or simple self-care strategies, which can be really useful when someone's feeling stuck.
But maybe the most important part is the reassurance. You're not alone, I got your back.
Absolutely. Just knowing someone cares and is there for you can make a huge difference when you're feeling low, that sense of connection.
And the simple thank you means a lot, shows how much those small gestures of support can matter. Just being seen and validated.
Yeah, really crucial for maintaining strong, supportive relationships.
Okay, and finally, in our tour of everyday scenarios, the dreaded travel disruption. Flight delays.
Ugh, the absolute worst. We've all been there, staring at the departures board, seeing that horrible word, delayed,
The source captured it well. The polite opening, how was the trip? Everything go okay?
and the immediate, weary response. Nah, flight was a nightmare, got delayed, instantly relatable pain.
And the friend's empathetic, that sucks. How long were you stuck? Just acknowledging the frustration.
3 hours. That's a significant delay. Throws off connections, plans, adds so much stress.
And the explanation bad weather is common. And intellectually, you understand safety first, but emotionally, you're still just annoyed.
Totally. You get it, but you don't have to like it. And the advice to just shake it off, delays happen. Easier said than done sometimes.
It is. It's an attempt to offer perspective, but it doesn't magically erase the wasted time or the inconvenience.
But the final reminder is important. Well, at least you got there safe and sound eventually.
Exactly. Reframing it. Shifting focus from the frustrating part, the delay, to the most important outcome, safe arrival. It helps put the hiccup, as they called it, into perspective.
And acknowledging that the rest of the trip was good helps end on a more positive note. Travel requires resilience, that's for sure.
It certainly does. Okay, and before we wrap up, we should touch on that explicit English learning advice that popped up in the sources.
Right, the direct instructions.
Yeah.
Always useful to hear those fundamentals reinforced.
Yeah. Things like practice your English every day. Consistency is just so key, isn't it? Little and often.
Totally. And try to think and speak in English every time. That immersion mindset, even if it's just internal monologue to start with, shifting your default language.
And listen and repeat the lesson out loud. That active engagement, listening and producing the sounds. Crucial for pronunciation and fluency.
Simple advice, but genuinely effective. Practice, immersion, repetition, the cornerstones.
They really are. And the call to action, like share, comment, that's pretty standard for online content, right? Building a community, encouraging engagement.
Yeah, suggests there are more resources out there, more opportunities to connect and learn, which is always good.
Definitely. It points towards that wider ecosystem of language learning materials available now. So reflecting on all these different conversations we've explored.
It's pretty amazing how much is packed into them, isn't it?
Vanilla, hazelnut, caramel.
It's a minefield. It really hammers home how crucial specificity is. That simple, I want coffee, opens Pandora's box of caffeinated choices.
It does. And the key takeaway for listeners, I think, is being prepared for those follow-up questions. Knowing the common options, maybe having your usual figured out can make it so much less stressful.
Definitely. Or even just learning to say, just a regular black coffee, medium size, please,
Keep it simple.
if you're overwhelmed.
That's a good strategy. And did you catch the barista's little joke at the end in that source? Could just ask for a medium black coffee first, you know. But where's the fun in that?
Yeah. That little bit of playful banter, that's another layer, isn't it? That cultural nuance of service interactions. Sometimes it's purely transactional. Sometimes there's a bit of personality.
Precisely. It shows that even routine exchanges can have these little moments of human connection or humor. Okay, let's pivot to something less pleasant but equally universal. Tech problems.
Oh, the digital despair. That poor person whose computer just gave up. It froze, then it restarted itself, and now it won't open my files.
Ugh.
That sinking feeling.
It's awful. Your work, your photos, your connection to everything, just gone. Or inaccessible, at least.
And the cause. Clicking on a sketchy link. The classic siren song of free movies or you've won a prize.
It's the oldest trick in the book, yet people still fall for it. It's a stark reminder. If something online looks too good to be true, it almost certainly is.
That phrase, never click on random links, feels like something your parents told you, but it's still incredibly relevant. Basic Internet Safety 101.
Absolutely. And the source mentioned having antivirus software, but it still happened, which shows, those things help, but they aren't magic shields. You still need to be vigilant.
Yeah, no software can protect you from yourself clicking on something you shouldn't.
Hmm.
The analogy you used was pretty vivid, too. The
Yeah.
computer having more viruses than a hospital waiting room.
That paints a picture, doesn't it? A grim one. The big takeaway is just extreme caution. That potential freebie could cost you dearly in terms of data loss, identity theft, or just, well, a non-functional computer.
Definitely not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Then there was that other tech-related story, the password one. Oh, man.
Oh.
Using the literal word password as your password. It's wow.
It's almost performance art in its insecurity. And then the security question to recover the password being, what's your password?
You can't make this stuff up. It's funny, but also kind of painful. It just demonstrates such a fundamental gap in understanding basic online security. It really does. Like, we all know we should use strong, unique passwords, right? But actually doing it, clearly, that's another story for some people.
And the follow-up suggestion, maybe try password 123. Okay, technically better, but still terrible.
Still basically leaving the front door wide open with a sign saying, please rob me.
Pretty much. For anyone listening, especially if English isn't your first language, getting comfortable with basic security terms, strong password, unique, two-factor authentication, phishing, it's becoming essential vocabulary just for navigating daily life online.
So true. Okay, let's step away from the digital world and into the physical. That encounter in New York with the fake taxi, that was weird.
Bizarre is the word. A bright yellow car, taxi sign on top, but it's just some random guy looking for his own car in a huge parking lot.
You almost have to admire the misplaced ingenuity. But seriously, it really highlights how important it is to be aware of your surroundings, especially in a big, busy city like New York. Things aren't always what they seem.
Exactly. And while this particular driver seemed more confused than malicious, according to the source, you can easily imagine that situation turning sketchy really fast. You get into the wrong car.
Yeah, exactly. His attempt at humor was a bit dark too, wasn't it? Don't worry, I'm a terrible kidnapper, too lazy.
It's the kind of gallows humor some people use to try and diffuse awkwardness. It's a cultural thing, maybe, but definitely unsettling in that context. It's a reminder that humor can pop up in very strange places.
And his comment about finding a real taxi being hard at that hour probably felt uncomfortably true for the person telling the story, adds a layer of, well, what do I do now?
Right. It leaves you feeling a bit stranded, literally and figuratively. Okay, sticking with navigation, let's look at the directions to Central Park.
This was interesting because it showcased two distinct ways of giving directions, didn't it?
It did. First, you had the super direct, no-nonsense approach. Go straight down Fifth Avenue, turn left on 86, boom, you're there. Pure efficiency.
Quick, easy, gets the job done. If you're in a hurry, that's what you want.
But then there was the alternative, the more scenic route, meandering via Broadway. And it came with recommendations. Skip the Starbucks. Try this great little local coffee shop on the way.
That's a totally different style. It's not just about the destination, it's about the journey, the experience. It assumes the person has more time, maybe wants to explore a bit.
Exactly. It shows how communication gets tailored. You read the person, figure out what they might want, speed or scenery, and adjust your directions accordingly. It's quite intuitive, often.
And that little bit of local pride, try the local coffee shop, shunning the big chain. That's very common, isn't it? People love recommending their hidden gems.
Oh, definitely. It's a way of sharing a piece of their neighborhood, their expertise. It turns giving directions into a mini cultural exchange.
And mentioning Starbucks also works as a universal landmark, right? Even if you don't know the local place, you probably know where the Starbucks is. It provides a fallback, a point of reference.
Good point. It acknowledges the familiar while suggesting something different. Okay, from navigating the city to navigating the supermarket.
Ah, the supermarket struggle. Too many choices. I felt that one deep in my soul, standing in an aisle just paralyzed by the sheer number of options.
It's a very modern kind of overwhelm, isn't it? Whether it's cereal or soda or, as mentioned, soft drinks, just rows and rows, and then the impulse buys kick in.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, look, scented candles. Didn't know I needed 5 different Ocean Breeze variations, but apparently I do. Even if you went in just for milk.
It happens all the time. It shows the power of marketing, packaging, placement, but also just our own distractibility sometimes. And it highlights the vocabulary needed: brands, types, flavors, scents.
It's a microcosm of consumer culture. And the feeling of being lost, trapped in aisle 7, trying to find the exit. So relatable.
And having to follow the elderly shoppers because they presumably know the layout. That was a funny, specific detail. It plays on that stereotype maybe, but it feels true to life somehow.
It does, that feeling of mild panic when you just want to pay and leave, but you're stuck in the labyrinth of discounted pasta.
Okay, now let's contrast that feeling of being lost and overwhelmed with the experience at Five Guys. Very different vibe.
Totally different. Fast-paced, loud, and that rapid-fire order taking. The source mentioned the employee talking faster than an auctioneer.
Yeah, that's a real challenge, especially in a noisy place. Trying to catch everything when it's fired at you like that. The customer had to ask them to repeat it, right?
Yep. And acknowledged how fast they were talking.
Yeah.
Which is important. It's okay to ask. It's better than guessing and getting the wrong thing.
Absolutely crucial skill. Sorry, could you say that again? Or could you slow down just a bit? Perfectly normal and necessary sometimes. Politeness goes a long way.
And the order itself was so specific. Double bacon deluxe, large curly fries, classic cheeseburger, but no pickles, and a chocolate milkshake.
That level of detail is super common in fast food ordering. You need to know the Lindo Deluxe, classic, curly fries, and how to specify modifications like no pickles. It's practical vocabulary.
And that moment of brain lag the source mentioned, where you hear it, but it takes a second to actually process. That happens all the time with fast speech.
It really does. You just need that beat to catch up. So yeah, asking for repetition is key. Okay, let's shift from food and errands into the realm of social dynamics, starting with the doppelgangers.
Ooh, this was fun. It started a bit spooky, didn't it? Talking about seeing your exact double and it being bad luck or something.
Yeah, setting that slightly ominous tone, and then boom, the reveal. Actually, I have an identical twin brother.
The reaction was perfect. No way, seriously, identical.
Yeah.
That instant fascination people have with trends.
It taps right into that curiosity, doesn't it? The idea of someone looking exactly like you. But then the conversation shifted to the reality of having a twin.
And the mischief.
Yeah.
Twin pretending to be him on a date. That's bold.
Isn't it? Classic twin shenanigans. Using their identical looks to pull pranks or get away with things. Apparently, the girl never found out either.
Wow. That raises all sorts of questions about identity, perception. How well do we really know someone if they can be perfectly impersonated?
Deep questions. And the ongoing pranks they pull on each other now sounds like sibling rivalry turned up to 11 because of the identical looks.
The description was great. Having a twin is basically like living with your own clone. That sums it up pretty well, I imagine.
It captures that unique blend of intense closeness and, well, the potential for utter chaos and confusion, and the strategy of blaming the other twin, genius, in a devious sort of way.
Definitely a useful tool in the twin arsenal.
Okay.
From clones to geography, the Czech Republic confusion. Oh, dear.
Oh, boy. Isn't the Czech Republic in Africa? Yikes. Followed by somewhere near Egypt, right?
You have to admire the confidence, even in the face of being spectacularly wrong. It's a good reminder that, well, everyone has gaps in their knowledge, sometimes pretty big ones.
Absolutely. And Olivia's reaction in the source, that simple, firm, just no was perfect. Sometimes you don't need a long explanation.
No, sometimes no is sufficient. It highlights that it's okay not to know everything, but maybe double check before stating something as fact, especially geography.
And the relief expressed when the person correctly placed France in Europe. It kind of set the bar pretty low, didn't it? But it was a funny moment.
It really was. For English learners, yeah, having some basic world knowledge, including geography, definitely helps in general conversation. Prevents moments like that.
And it reinforces, don't be afraid to ask. Better to ask a dumb question than to confidently declare that Prague is near Cairo.
So true. Okay, let's move into something more personal. How people spend their free time. The sources gave a nice little snapshot.
They did. We saw the usual suspects scrolling social media, just generally surfing the web. Very typical ways to decompress or kill time nowadays.
Then reading, but with different tastes. Right. One person into fantasy and horror, another into romance. Shows that diversity of preference even in a traditional hobby.
Exactly. And video games got a mention too, but with a practical limitation having to go to bed early because they needed to catch a subway to visit their partner the next day.
That little detail grounds it, doesn't it? Leisure time isn't always totally free. It's often shaped by our daily lives, our commutes, our relationships. Visiting someone in another town requiring an early night, very relatable city life logistic.
It is. It's a small thread that hints at a bigger picture of their life and commitments. Even downtime is structured. Okay, now a really important dynamic. school results, and parental support.
This was a great exchange. The student feeling disappointed with B's and C's, thinking they should have done better. That pressure is real for a lot of kids.
It really is. But the parents' response was just fantastic, focusing not just on the grades, but on the person. Our family doesn't define someone by grades alone. You're a wonderful student and a great son.
That's so powerful, isn't it? Shifting the focus from just the outcome to effort, character, intrinsic worth. That's the kind of support that builds resilience and self-esteem.
Absolutely. It validates the student's feelings, but reframes the situation in a much healthier way. And you see the impact immediately.
Yeah, the student's response, okay, I'll put in more effort, I won't give up, shows they really heard that message of support, not judgment. It encourages growth, not just chasing A's.
Exactly. Fosters a love of learning, hopefully, rather than just fear of failure. Okay, let's switch context again to the workplace, requesting time off for illness.
Ah, the feeling under the weather conversation. This one highlighted politeness and procedure, didn't it?
Very much so. The language used, may I come in, sir? I'm feeling under the weather, sir. Can I take off early today, sir? Very formal, respectful, using sir. That level of formality can vary, but it shows deference.
And having the leave request form already filled out. That shows preparedness, consideration for the manager's time. Makes it easy for them to say yes.
Definitely. It streamlines the process. And the manager's response was good too, understanding, granting the leave quickly, acknowledging the employee's usual hard work.
Which probably makes the employee feel valued. And the employee assuring the manager about the financial report, it's almost done, I'll finish it when I'm back, shows responsibility. They're not just ditching work.
Right. They're managing expectations about their tasks. And the manager's parting, go home and take care of yourself, adds that touch of personal concern, which is nice.
It rounds out the interaction well. It's a good model for professional, considerate communication in English, even for something routine like taking a sick day.
Agreed. Politeness, clarity, responsibility, key elements. Now, let's talk about encouragement, specifically pushing someone to enter that dancing contest.
This was all about overcoming self-doubt. The person had all the classic hesitations. I'm not sure I'm good enough. They're way better dancers. I get nervous. I freeze up. So relatable.
Totally. That fear of judgment, of not measuring up, it stops people from trying so many things. But the friend was having none of it.
No, the friend was relentless. You have to seize the moment. You love dancing. How will you know if you don't even try? Just pushing back against every excuse.
That persistent belief from someone else can be incredibly powerful. Sometimes you need someone else to see your potential more clearly than you do. And the enthusiasm, heck yeah, you got this. It's infectious.
It really is. That unwavering support can be the difference between staying stuck in fear and actually taking a chance. And the final, that's my man. Just pure supportive friendship.
Yeah, it shows that strong belief and trust. Okay, now for something much more low-key. Just friends grabbing a drink after a jog.
Simple, everyday stuff. Getting orange juice, good post-exercise choice. That little moment of almost spilling it adds that touch of, like, real-life clumsiness.
Exactly, makes it feel authentic. And mentioning the vitamin C boost, just a small comment connecting the drink choice to the activity they just did.
It's those little shared moments, isn't it? The casual chat, the shared experience, even if it's just 5 minutes drinking juice. That's how friendships are often maintained.
Absolutely. The mundane moments matter. Then we had the other friends deciding where to eat.
The classic dilemma. Hot pot versus something cold because it's hot outside. That's a very common discussion point, letting the weather dictate the menu.
It is. And the negotiation that follows, one wants hot, one wants cold. What's the compromise? And they land on cold noodles. Perfect.
A successful negotiation. It's a simple example, but it shows that back and forth, the expressing of preferences, the finding of common ground, that happens constantly in friendships when making plans.
Even for something as simple as lunch, it's all communication, all negotiation, really. Okay, now, let's wade into slightly trickier waters. Rumors and crushes.
Oh boy, here we go. That direct confrontation. Someone told me you have a crush on Javis. Wow, straight to the point.
No beating around the bush there. That kind of directness can be startling, depending on your relationship with the person asking. Puts you right on the spot.
It really does. And the initial reaction was denial, wasn't it? But then the friend lays out the evidence.
Yeah, well, you guys are always hanging out. You laugh differently with him. You sound like a couple when you talk. It shows how easily observations can be interpreted or misinterpreted and fuel rumors.
Exactly. Actions speaking louder than words, perhaps, or at least being read into heavily. And then the hesitant admission finally comes out.
Okay, yeah, I do sort of like him. But please don't tell anyone. That immediate plea for secrecy, it highlights the vulnerability, right? Sharing those feelings is risky.
Totally. You're trusting that person with sensitive information, the fate of your social standing, potentially, and the friend's response is key.
Don't worry, I got you, girl. That immediate reassurance, locking it down, that's crucial for trust in a friendship, especially with this kind of gossip-prone topic.
Absolutely. It solidifies the bond.
Hmm.
Okay, let's shift to catching up with old friends, talking about bigger life changes.
Right, this conversation felt very real, reflecting how friendships evolve over time. Talking about moving to a new city, New York, in this case for a job.
And the challenges that come with that. Adjusting to a faster pace of life, maybe feeling overwhelmed initially, balancing work and finding a social life. Very common themes for people relocating.
Definitely. And then bringing in the family aspect. Oh, things are different now. I'm married with kids. Priorities shift. Lifestyles change. Catching up involves bridging those gaps.
The offer to introduce a friend to the spouse and kids is a nice gesture, isn't it? A way of saying, this is my life now, I want you to be part of it, even though we haven't seen each other.
It is. It's about maintaining that connection despite the changes, despite the time and distance, reintegrating old friends into the current chapter.
Shows the enduring value placed on those long-term friendships. Okay, back to the workplace. Giving and receiving feedback, another crucial skill.
Super important. And the example started well, didn't it? Leading with positive reinforcement. Great presentation, James.
Yeah, always good to start with the positive.
Oh.
Softens the blow for any criticism coming. And the feedback itself was constructive.
Right. Maybe include some more visuals next time. Specific, actionable advice, not just it was boring, but why it could be improved and how.
And James's explanation, yeah, I ran out of time, provide context, it's not defensive, just factual. And the colleague accepts that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then reinforces the positive again. No worries, honestly, you did fantastic overall. That feedback sandwich, positive, constructive, positive, is a common technique.
Leaves the person feeling acknowledged for their effort, but also with a clear idea for improvement. And the invitation to grab lunch afterwards helps maintain the relationship beyond just the feedback.
Good point. Keeps it collegial, friendly, shows the feedback came from a good place.
Okay, now thinking about big decisions, like that job offer conversation.
This captured that feeling perfectly, didn't it? The excitement of getting a great offer, but immediately followed by that wave of, am I actually good enough for this? Imposter syndrome kicking in.
Totally. It's that mix of exhilaration and terror. And the friend's advice was really grounded. Listen to your gut. Think about your long-term goals. Encouraging reflection, not just reacting. Important advice. Don't just jump because it's shiny. But then the friend also gives that big push of encouragement.
Oh, yeah. Fear has to take a back seat. He got this. Dive in. No regrets. Just pure, unadulterated belief in the person.
Sometimes you need that external cheerleader, right? Someone to drown out your own doubts. And the promise of backup, whatever happens, I've got your back. That's huge.
It's massive. Knowing you have that safety net makes taking the leap feel less terrifying,
True.
and the person decides to go for it, which leads to more celebration.
That's my girl. Knew you'd crush it.
Yeah.
That shared excitement and belief is a powerful thing in friendships.
It really is. Now let's look at the flip side. Dealing with a setback, failing the driving test.
Oof. Yeah, that's a common one. That feels like a big deal at the time. The initial reaction, I bombed it, is completely understandable disappointment.
Totally. But again, the friend steps in immediately with perspective and encouragement. Hey, no worries. It happens. There's always next time.
Normalizing it, basically, and suggesting the solution. Just keep practicing, hit the road more. Practical steps, not just sympathy.
And reminding them it's not the end of the world. Putting the failure into perspective is key to bouncing back. And it works.
Yeah, the person rallies. You're right, I'll get better, just need more practice. That shift from despair to determination is crucial. And the friend's offer of pom-poms for the next attempt adds that lighthearted support.
Keeps it positive, reinforces that they're in it together. It shows resilience is often fostered by good support. Okay, what about considering a totally new direction, like starting a business?
Ah, the entrepreneurial dream, or nightmare, depending on your perspective. The initial reaction here was strong reluctance, wasn't it?
Very much so. No way, not me. I'm not the business owner type. That immediate self-categorization, often based on fear of the unknown, fear of risk.
And the friend tries to gently probe, suggesting ideas based on existing skills, trying to plant a seed, but the resistance is strong.
Yeah, the person lists all the valid concerns. It's a gamble. I don't have the money. I don't know enough. These are real obstacles, or perceived obstacles at least.
And the friend acknowledges them, but also points to the potential upside, the big payoffs, trying to offer that balanced view of risk and reward.
But the hesitation persists. Better stick to what I know. That comfort zone is powerful.
It really is. But the friend leaves them with a thought, right? Not pushing, but just suggesting stepping out of your comfort zone can lead to awesome stuff.
Exactly. It respects their current position, but keeps the possibility open for the future. Gentle encouragement. Okay, let's shift to something much lighter. Favorite movie stars.
Easy conversation starter. This one was about Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise.
Two titans. The enthusiasm for Hanks mentioning Forrest Gump, Castaway, clearly a shared appreciation there. He's got mad skills.
That's nice common ground. And the other person agreeing, but adding Tom Cruise to the mix, acknowledging his iconic status too. Total movie legend.
It's just a simple, low-stakes way to connect over shared cultural references, shared tastes, builds rapport easily.
Absolutely. Just pleasant chatter. Now, a bit more serious again. Offering support to someone feeling down.
This is so important in any relationship. It started with just noticing something was off. You seem a bit quiet today. And then gently asking something on your mind.
That initial noticing and asking shows you care, doesn't it? Creates a safe space. And the person felt able to admit it. Yeah, just feeling a bit low, everything feels overwhelming.
That honesty is key. And the friend's response was supportive without being dismissive, offering hope, try to perk up, tough times don't last, but also practical suggestions.
Right. Take a break, go for a walk, listen to some music, concrete actions someone can take when they feel stuck or overwhelmed.
And crucially, that simple reassurance, you're not alone in this, I've got your back. Just knowing someone is there can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. That feeling of connection combats the isolation that often comes with feeling low. The thanks that means a lot really shows the impact.
Small gestures, big impact. Okay, finally, let's touch on that universal travel woe. Flight delays.
Oof, the worst. Starts with the hopeful question, how was the trip? Everything go okay? And then the immediate deflation. Nah, flight was a nightmare, delayed for hours.
That quick switch from expected pleasantries to recounting a frustrating experience is very common. And the empathetic response is key. Oh man, that sucks. How long were you stuck?
Showing you get it. 3 hours, in this case? Significant delay. And the inevitable airline explanation. Weather. The classic reason.
Right, and the passenger's resigned acceptance. Well, safety first, I guess. What else can you say? Doesn't make it less annoying, but it's the standard line.
And the friend's attempt to offer perspective. Just shake it off, delays happen, trying to minimize it, move on. Sometimes helpful, sometimes slightly annoying if you're still fuming.
True. Timing is everything with that kind of advice. But the reminder that they arrive safe and sound, that is the most important thing, ultimately. Helps reframe it.
Yeah, shifts focus from the annoying process to the successful outcome. And thankfully, the rest of the trip was smooth after that initial hiccup. Shows that travel often requires resilience.
It certainly does. Okay, so across all these varied scenarios, from the mundane to the more dramatic, we also got that little snippet of direct English learning advice in the sources.
We did. Explicit instructions, which is interesting to see alongside all the natural conversation examples.
Yeah, it boiled down to the fundamentals, really. Practice consistently every single day. Immerse yourself, think and speak in English as much as possible, and actively listen and mimic, listen and repeat.
Core principles of language acquisition, right there. You got to put in the time, engage your brain, and use your ears and voice.
Exactly. No magic bullets, just consistent effort. And the call to action that followed, like, share, comment for more, that's very typical of online content creation, building a community.
Definitely. Encouraging engagement, pointing towards more resources. It acknowledges that learning is an ongoing journey.
And speaking of the journey, throughout this whole deep dive, looking at all these dialogues, we've implicitly picked up on so many nuances of spoken English, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. Loads of informal stuff, slang words peppered throughout the casual chats. Things like dude, buzzkill, yikes, gotcha, hang out, mad skills. You need to understand that stuff to follow real conversations.
You really do. But we also saw the flip side. The polite, more formal phrases used in those service interactions or workplace requests. I'd like a coffee, please. Excuse me, may I come in, sir? Thank you. Knowing when to switch between those registers is key.
And the expressions. We heard frustration, oh dear, oh, surprise, no way, wow, encouragement, you got this, crush it. Understanding the emotion behind the words is just as important as the words themselves.
Couldn't agree more. It's about the tone, the context, the nonverbal cues that we can infer even from a transcript sometimes. It all contributes to that natural rhythm and flow of spoken English. It's not just vocabulary lists and grammar rules. It's this living, breathing thing.
So wrapping up this rather extensive deep dive,
Yeah.
looking back at all these fantastic real-world examples you listeners provided, it's clear that even the simplest chats are packed with insights, practical communication nuggets, little cultural clues, just the way people really talk.
It's genuinely fascinating. You scratch the surface of ordering coffee or complaining about a flight delay, and you find all these layers of interaction, politeness, frustration, humor.
And hopefully, exploring all this helps you, the listener, feel a bit more clued in, maybe more confident, navigating your own English interactions, whether that's planning your own dream trip or just, dealing with tech support.
That's the goal, to take these observations and make them useful in your own life, connecting them back to your own experiences with the language.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Think about your next English interaction. Could be tomorrow, could be next week. Maybe you'll order food, ask for help, bump into someone you know, or even just overhear a conversation.
Yeah, and as you're in that situation, or maybe reflecting on it afterwards, try to notice one small thing, one little detail, maybe something we talked about today. A turn of phrase, a specific word choice, a reaction, a moment of hesitation.
How did it affect the conversation? What did it communicate beyond the literal words? Could a tiny insight from our chat today change how you approach a similar situation next time? Even just noticing these things,
Yeah.
that's progress.
Absolutely. That continuous observation, that active engagement with the language as it's really used around you, that's honestly the secret sauce. That's how you move beyond the textbook and into a deeper, more intuitive understanding of English in action.